So it's called Kids Coding and Scratch Coding Quest with the Learning Partnership. And this is a program that I've done for the last couple of years. I'm just going to get my slideshow working here. There we are. So this is a project I've done for the last couple of years with the Learning Partnership. It's a free program that they offer for teachers, which is great. When I was first learning how to incorporate technology into my classroom, Coding Quest was one of the first projects that I ended up using as a part of bringing technology into my classroom. So today what we're going to be doing is talking about the program, and I'm actually going to get the chance to show you the dashboard and give you some ideas of how you can use this within your classroom. So some of the things we're going to be discussing today is what is Coding Quest? What kind of resources, supports do they offer? We're also going to have a look at the dashboard. I was fortunate to actually be able to get into the program recently, so I will be able to actually show you the dashboard. What you need to do to implement the program. So we will talk a little bit about Scratch. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because a lot of our time is going to be talking about specifically the Coding Quest program. We're going to talk about examples of how I use this in my classroom. So I do have a couple of examples from the last couple of years, and also some ideas of how you could use this in your classroom with your curriculum. We're also going to talk about maybe if you're a teacher that isn't familiar with coding or are uncertain of how to code, we're going to talk about some strategies of how you could overcome that. And also, how do you register and access the program? I will have a time for questions at the end, but as Wendy said, if you have any questions throughout, please put them in the chat. She's going to let me know of any questions that you have, and I'll try and answer them throughout the presentation. So first off, what is Coding Quest? So Coding Quest is a free program offered by the Learning Partnership that steps students through creating a video game or a story program using block coding through Scratch, incorporating global competencies and STEAM. So through this program, you're provided with lesson plans, digital PL, and activities that can be used for cross-curricular activities. When we get into the dashboard, you're really going to get to see these lessons and the activities that they do provide. So many updates have actually occurred the program this year, including being offered in French as well. So if you are a teacher who's teaching French, or if you're an intensive French teacher like myself, there is also a French version of this program as well to incorporate French into your classroom. So what are some of the resources, supports that they offer? So when you sign up for the program, the Learning Partnership will provide you with a dashboard of lessons and modules and materials to help you, however you are using the program with your curriculum. So the program is very flexible in terms of how you want to use it within your curriculum. So as of this past Friday, Coding Quest is actually now available for you to sign up for. So after this session, you could actually sign up and completely access the program today. And now I'm actually going to show you the dashboard. So I'm just going to click in. I do apologize that I have so many windows open at the moment. So this is actually my dashboard within Coding Quest. So I've already signed up for the program. Now I will say as well, Coding Quest now is offered at grade 1 to grade 8. Originally this program was a grade 4 to grade 6 program. So that is now changed. So Coding Quest now is offered from grade 1 to 3, and it uses Dash's neighborhood. So if anyone knows the Dash and Dot robots, the grade 1 to grade 3 program has to do with the Dash robot and the Dash neighborhood and creating a story that Dash moves through. So that is a brand new program this year. It's now incorporated to Coding Quest. And as I said, there is some information on the website in regards to that new program for any of you who may be teaching grade 1 to grade 3. So that is a new launch. This Coding Quest from grade 4 to grade 8 is the one I've done for the last couple of years. And there has been a very large update this year. So I am going to go over the dashboard and give you a little bit of idea of some of the new updates. So this is your dashboard when you log in, and later I will show you how to register, how to log in and get the same dashboard as I have myself. So what the Learning Partnership offers for free, which is fantastic, is they're offering training, all your lesson plans, and all kinds of resources for you to use. So Within this now, new this year now is a virtual live training that you can book. So if you are new to the program or just want to have some more strategies with the new changes to the program, you can now actually book live stream virtual sessions with someone right there doing the live session with you. Before it was a PL that you stepped your way through. Now it's actually a live session. For the grade 1 to grade 3, I believe it's an hour-long session. And now for the grade 4 to grade 8, it's 2 one-hour sessions for training that you can book. So when you are getting started in terms of the program itself, you are going to want to create a Scratch teacher's account. This gives you access to be able to create all of your students' logins and passwords, and also for you to be able to see through your account what your students are completing within the program. And there's a great teacher's account guide within this program. I will tell you something that I learned when I first did this program was to be very creative with your usernames for students, because you may have a system of, maybe you have a certain system of how you want all of the logins to look, and then you get to one that's the exact same as maybe someone else currently already has within the program, and you are unable to actually delete those accounts, is my understanding. So I have a couple, actually my own account that I started and then realized another student had the same login. I had to redo it. Anyways, that's just a little tip that I learned when I was doing my accounts. So there is some great tutorials on here on how to create those accounts for you. And Scratch itself also offers some great tutorials, activity guides, and help in order to help you with the program. The coding cards are fantastic too to print for students to use when you do get to that point of going in and getting your Scratch account, okay? So this is just the information in terms of steps to get started that's on your dashboard. Now we're going to have a look at some of the lesson plans and resources that the program offers you. In the past, the program was all together in one program. They've now actually split it off into 2 themes. So you have either your storytelling theme, or you have your creating the game design or creating a video game kind of theme. So they've definitely split this year, whereas in the past it had been all together. And with that, there also comes with different lesson plans and different resources depending on how you want to use this in your classroom. So say if you want to do use this maybe in literacy with projects or such, and you want to do more of a storytelling theme, you're going to have your modules here, modules 1 to 4 in regards to your storytelling. If you are doing it a game design, similar, you have a 1 to 4 lesson. Please note though, the module does not mean that's how many lessons are in there. When you click in, you may find that module 1, module 2 may actually have 2 or 3 lessons in there. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's just one lesson. The module itself could actually be a couple of lessons. When I was doing a little more research on the changes to the program, it does say it's about 5 hours of class time to complete, but that also depends on what you're doing and also how you are incorporating into your classroom. That's just an estimate of time that the program has provided. So within this, it does give you a multitude of resources. So it'll give you the lesson plans as well as additional resources. So for instance, what I really enjoyed doing was using the slide deck, which is a Google slide that provides you with slides to go with your lesson plan, with questions and things that you can project onto your smartboard. So I personally really enjoyed using this as something in incorporation with my lesson plan. So I'm actually going to click on one that I've already loaded. So this is one of the modules. As I said, this is part 1, but there's also other parts. So your module may not necessarily be just one lesson. It may be a couple of parts to the lesson. But what's really nice is with the Coding Quest lesson plans is that they are really well organized and really set up for you, and they're really easy to use. So they're very, in terms of organized, how you want to do everything. It also tells you what resources and such that you can use. It gives you the concepts that are within your lesson plan. So this is something that I really enjoyed in regards to the program, is how organized their lessons are. They also give you your time frame as well for how long approximately some of the parts of the lesson will take. And also as well, it tells you about the slides that are offered. So with this lesson plan, these are some of the slides that are offered. So as I said in the past too, these are great to project onto your smartboard and go through. You will notice that some of the slides will say that this may be more for the video game theme than for the storytelling theme. So some of them you'll notice in the wording, it'll say if this pertains to the video game one or the storytelling one, as now those were together and now they've now been separated within the program this year. So these are great. I do really love to use these and put these on the smartboard. So when you are looking at the resources, have a look at all the resources because there really is some great ones there that are offered by them. So just going back to the dashboard, something new this year that I just noticed as well is they've now provided rubrics. So for instance, they have a storytelling rubric, which is marked with a 1 to 4, similar to our own system. And there is a marking actually rubric for you that you can use. However, depending on what you're teaching, you may want to create your own rubrics as well for what you are covering or using Coding Quest to cover within your curriculum. But these are just another great addition that they've done to the program. I have found in the last couple of years there have been a lot of updates, and they're really adding some great resources for teachers to use. This year, they really thought about how time-consuming the program can be, and they've actually condensed the program a little bit more for time, as well as introducing it as more of a digital opportunity for teachers in case we do go back to a more digital learning platform due to COVID. They have updated the program to be more of a digital interface as well for you. So that is in terms of the two themes. Now, what's different with the game design as well is that they actually offer a booklet for students to use. I'm just going to see if I can access that booklet that I have open right now. So this is the game design booklet that they offer that you can print and use with your students and step them through if they're doing the game design. It has some great organizational tools throughout that students can use and also correlates to your lessons. So you can have students answering, so you could be projecting your slide up onto the smartboard and having your students answer this within their booklet. And there's also what I liked about the new updated booklet is there's some opportunity for some teacher feedback at the bottom of some of the pages as well. And these will correlate to all of the lessons that are with the game design. So this is great to print and have for your students. I have used their booklets in the past, and I do find they are fantastic for that. Now, another thing I want to show you as well and talk a little bit about as we're in the dashboard is the virtual showcase. So in the past, the program had what was called the arcade. That was what was called the final project at the end. After you've done all of this coding, you've done all of this research, and you've done all of this project, and what is your final project? They've now changed this to a more virtual showcase. I do believe in part because of our challenges right now in COVID-19, that this is now more of a virtual. So within the virtual showcase preparation lesson, there is an opportunity for students to actually record themselves talking about their game and recording their game. There's two programs that they do suggest that you can use. I believe Flipgrid is one of them, and there is another one as well. And also too, that when students are working in Scratch and they've completed their project and they publish it within Scratch, you are able to get the URL of that project to correlate with the video maybe they've taken, or maybe you just simply want to have the URL that you can now share with other students, parents, other classrooms, so that students are still sharing the work, which may be different than in the past. We had done it at my school, we had done an arcade where we had actually invited other students in the classroom to play the games. We had done a whole scavenger hunt within the school with the games in different places for students to go and talk to students about their projects. Right now, that isn't possible. So because of COVID, the Learning Partnership actually has given you still an opportunity in how you can do a showcase, but now it's done virtually, which is great if we do happen to go to maybe more of an at-home learning module or program. Students can still continue and do Coding Quest at home. This also too can just be something else for you, that if we happen to do go back home and be doing more at-home teaching, you can be using Coding Quest with your teaching from at home. The virtual aspects of this really lend itself to that kind of teaching as well. So if we can go back to, we're just going to go back into the presentation. I'm not going to make it full screen again because it was a little hard to see between the two. So I hope everyone can still see this quite clearly. And Wendy, is there any questions that came up at this point in time that I can answer before I move on?
No, Lindsey, I think we're good.
Okay. So we are now going to move on to what do you need to implement the program. We've talked a little bit about it, and then I'm actually going to show you a couple of projects my students have done, and we're also going to talk about how can you implement this into your classroom. I've showed all of the dashboard and all of the resources that are there, but now how is it that you can use that within the classroom? So we did talk a little bit about this when we were looking at the dashboard, is you are going to need Scratch. So not only are you going to need to register for Coding Quest through the Learning Partnership and receive all your lessons and that through the dashboard, but you're also going to need to create a Scratch teacher's account. So we have actually talked a little bit about this. In terms of to access Scratch, this is the website here. And if you actually look it up in Google and write Scratch, it's actually one of the first things that comes up. So just another hint there. So how I use this within my own classroom. So I've used this program twice, and I'd planned to last year as well, but unfortunately, my time frame for the program was going to be when we had been sent to an at-home learning model. So last year, I actually didn't get the chance to do Coding Quest. However, the other 2 years I had done the program. My first year, I had used the program as a part of my literacy. So I had left it very open in terms of what students could choose in terms of what they want to do. Did they want to do more like a story model? Did they want to do more like a video game? And what subject did you want to do your presentation on? So my students had to choose something they had already learned within the classroom and then create their project around this idea of something they've learned. And within that, we used the literacy booklets as part of writing and planning, and we had good copies of our planning pages and what we were working on and what the directions were for how we were stepping through the game. So I really, that first year, used this as part of my literacy and made it more open in terms of selection of what they wanted for ideas. So within this, I had some students that decided they wanted to do French. I had some students that wanted to do a math game. I had a group that actually were members of the recycling club at our school, and they wanted to do a presentation about recycling and recycling within our school. So they had done that. I had ones that were just stories within characters and characters talking back and forth, and students had planned this out with dialogue. Now, I'm saying students because that first year, we had done ours in partners. Now, you can do this program either individually or with partners. So you can choose what you feel will work best within your classroom. The program is designed for either way. You could also actually do it with a small group of students as well. If you have maybe in terms of you don't have enough laptops, or if you feel you would rather do this as more of a group project, you could do this as well. So the program is designed to be either individual, group, or with partners. So that's completely up to you how flexible you want to be in regards to that with your classroom. So I will show a couple of the projects that my class had done that year. I'm going to show the recycling one just briefly, what it looks like, and also one of the French projects as well that was done by 2 students. And within that, I apologize, my presenting thing here at the top seems to be blocking some of my here, let me see. Perfect. Now we can get in. So, sorry about that. Here we are. Oh, there we are. All right. So this is actually one of the games that one of the students had designed. So as you can see, this is actually a photo of Gagetown School in the background. So that was one of the things that my students really enjoyed doing, was actually taking real photos and incorporating them within their games. So that's something you can do with your class as well, is taking real photos and incorporating them through Scratch so that students have that authenticity of the photos that they've taken are within the game. Another thing that our students learned how to do was how to crop photos from the internet in order to use them. Now, we did talk about copyright. We also talked about usage rights as well. So when we were searching for images, we did also look for those images that were able to be used by other students and such. So we did have, as part of the project, we also talked about internet safety, and copyright laws as well in regards to content on the internet. So within this game, now it is quite loud, so I'm not going to click fully into this one. I will click into the next one. But within this game, my students had actually designed it so that it's a 2-player game. So the controls on your keyboard, they made it so that the left side controlled the garbage can and the right side controlled the recycling bin. And there's a little point system at the bottom so that if you're catching the proper items, you're getting points. So it was supposed to be a little competition between the two. Now within the game, the recycling bin and the garbage can actually talk. It's the 2 students who designed the game, and they talk about the importance of recycling and things to do at our school in regards to with recycling. So this was something that they had decided that they wanted to do as their project. So this was the recycling game. Now, the other game that was created was this one called French Beginners. At the time that I did the program, I did not know that, and I'm not sure if this has just been an update recently, but you can actually change Scratch to be in French. So for anyone who is a French teacher or an IF teacher, you can use this program in French. Coding Quest itself now is now offered in French. So when you sign up for the program, you can actually click which language you want, and you can choose French. So all of those resources I showed you come in French now, which is fantastic. So if you want to use this within French class, you can now. And a little bit later, I will show you how to change your Scratch into French so that everything they see and the block coding is in French. So this year was our first year, and I was unaware that this was able to be done. But these students wanted to use their oral French skills and do a game in French. So this was a little click, and here.
Click the object for the French answer.
So one of the students would do one part, and then
Crayon.
So as you click through the game,
click the object for the French answer.
This was vocabulary they had learned. And as you click the objects, they say the vocabulary in French. So this actually had a multitude of levels. And I actually had another group that did a similar game as well using French. So about half my class that year actually did French games, and they really enjoyed showing their learning in French through the game. You could also have it done in complete sentences. Now, I'm an IF teacher, so I actually had a group that did mini prof. So they did a mini conversation back and forth in French, coded it, recorded it, and had it on as their game. Now, I will say something we learned as well, and one of the games I was going to show, but there's a small problem, is it needs to be really quiet where they're recording, because the mics on the computers can be quite sensitive and will pick up a lot of that background sound. So a couple of our games, as you were playing through, you could really hear the background sound. So it was really hard to hear some of what they were saying. So that's another thing too, that when you are recording, you may want to have a quiet spot for students to go if they're recording audio to put into their game, so that you don't get that background noise. And within the program, it can get a little loud in terms of students working, but they're engaged, which is fantastic. So those were just a couple of the examples of a couple of games that some of my students had done from that very first year. Now, the second year, I used Coding Quest more in correlation with another big project I was doing, and Coding Quest kind of helped organize it through. So year 2, I used the book, The Frame Up. It's a book that's written by a local author. It's a chapter book, and it takes place in Fredericton. And one of the main settings is, or actually the main setting is, the Beaverbrook Art Gallery in downtown Fredericton. So we used this as an opportunity a lot of my students in Gagetown had actually never been to the gallery. So we used this as a cross-curricular opportunity. So this was our class novel. And then we incorporated Coding Quest when our class novel was done, where actually all of my students created a character. And they created a character with a background story. And we pretended that these characters had paintings that were hanging in an art gallery. So we actually took the organizational booklet from Coding Quest, organized our writing through, stepped through all of the directions through. And then my students actually, when they were done creating their character and writing about their character, they actually painted their character onto canvases. We attached a little gold star in through the canvas and then used makey-makeys to attach to this little metal star. And students went into Scratch and coded dialogue of them talking about their character, who they were in the painting, and why they were hanging in the art gallery. And when a student touched the star on the canvas, they could hear my students talking about their character, which was done through Scratch. The next step, and unfortunately I'd run out of time, the next step I would have had would have been them actually coding their character within the Scratch program and the background story they had created for them. So that was something that I incorporated with my literacy and actually did it as a cross-curricular project with art, literacy, and coding as well. We had incorporated a lot within that project. And then we actually used these paintings as a scavenger hunt throughout our schools so that other students without the school could go and find the paintings and listen to the code and the students talking about their background stories. So those were ways that I used the Coding Quest program within my classroom. Now, we've talked about the flexibility of the program. Here are a couple of ideas of how you could use this in your classroom and with your curriculum. The program is so flexible, you could really use this program in a variety of subjects and with a variety of curriculum, which is how fantastic this program is because you have that flexibility. It is a model that you can use to really teach a multitude of things. One of the ideas could be that you could use this with writing, where they create a story and bring it to life, similar to Tumble books, similar to some of the YouTube videos you may see of storybooks that have been brought to life. This is something you could do as well. You could have your students create a story, write it, do the good copy, and then actually code it to correlate with your writing. And that their digital copy could kind of be that writer celebration. So that's one idea of how you can use the project. You could use it for project-based work with research. So you could have your students present their findings through code, and this can be used for a variety of subjects and contents. So you could have a group project and then say, I want you to code with dialogue what you've learned. And then you can use those URLs to present it to the rest of the class, as well as you could share it with other classrooms as well. With science and habitats, choose an animal, research the habitat, now code and share what you've learned. Depending on your curriculum and what you're covering, you can choose how you can use the program. You could have them even creating video games in correlation with something. So maybe you finished a unit and you want them to create a video game now that tests students with other questions about what the content was, or even just as a final project. The possibilities are endless in terms of how you can use the program with your curriculum, okay? And then you can also choose too, how are you going to assess your outcomes based off of this project? So you have that flexibility within Coding Quest. Wendy, how are we doing?
We're doing great, Lindsay.
Okay, perfect. So wait a minute, I don't know how to code. I will tell you, when I first started with the program, I was not very familiar with block coding. I had done some HTML coding in high school. I've coded some with that before, but I wasn't very familiar with block coding. It's okay if you are not familiar with coding. This is something that throughout that first year, I had to let go. So the learning partnership lessons are really clear, and the digital PL will give you some basic coding knowledge. So they do provide you with that framework and help. So you definitely have support there. They also normally have a coordinator too that you can email back and forth with and ask questions. They're usually fantastic about getting back to you in a timely manner and being able to point you in the right direction. The last couple of years, the coordinators I've had have been fantastic, very knowledgeable, and really helpful. You can also use YouTube. If you're unsure about some coding aspects, or maybe the students are trying to figure something out, YouTube has some great videos to help you. Within Scratch, there's great tutorials within Scratch and also some helpful sheets. I will tell you as well, within Coding Quest, there are some teacher sheets that for some of the challenges for students that actually show you what the successful codes are. So Learning Partnership will provide you with those resources. As well, the students are going to figure it out. It's okay to not have all the answers. They're going to figure it out. With my class, I found that I had students that were so engaged, they were going home at night and they were watching YouTube videos. They were researching code. They were coming back and going, I looked up on YouTube last night, I figured out how to do this, and now I'm going to incorporate it within my project. They're going to figure it out. And what's great about the project is how engaged students are going to get with this. They're going to take that next step and figure it out because they want to know. So they will figure it out. One of the strategies that I used within my own classroom was kind of a 3-step strategy. So one was for students to try first. So try it for a little while to try and figure it out. And then ask a friend. A lot of times, other students in the classroom were figuring out different parts of code that even myself, I was uncertain of. So what happened was within the last couple of years that we did the program was that real sense of community within the classroom. We really stress that it's not a competition. We want everyone to have fantastic programs. It's okay to help someone else, and it's okay to ask for help from another group. So what would happen within the classroom was you would see some of the groups would be mixing up and going to other groups, but they were still engaged. They were still asking questions. They were asking students, can I see your code? They were asking students, how did you do that? Can I see what you've gotten done so far? They were being really positive about everyone else's program, and everyone was helping one another. It really helped when you really set out that mindset of this is not a competition, that we want everyone to succeed, of them helping each other. So that was really helpful within the classroom, is really stressing that kind of sense of community. The third step we said was asking the teacher, but expecting that we may not always know the answers as well. There are times that students came up and then we together would try and figure it out. I would go on YouTube with them. I would look up on the internet how to do the code. Or if I knew of another student that had already figured it out, I could point them into the right direction. You know what, you really need to talk to that group. I think they've already figured out or have a similar code. Maybe they can help you as well. So what also happens with that is that it creates those leaders within the classroom as well. So some of those students that this may be that first opportunity for them to really be a leader within the classroom and have something that they feel really successful with that they can help their peers with. So that was another part of the program that I really enjoyed, was some of those students, this was something that they were really interested in and they could take on those leadership opportunities. And they were helping other groups and getting really engaged and feeling really proud of themselves that they were able to help other students with this. So that is some strategies of if you're not sure how to code and how to kind of foster that. I will say as well, because this happened quite often to me, set out a date of when you're going to do coding quests. That way you don't have the students asking you each day, are we coding today? If students already know ahead of time, what I used to do on my calendar up at the front of the room, I used to actually write down coding quests on the date of the calendar. And then students knew, oh, wait, we're going to be doing coding quests on such and such a date. Or if you have a set schedule within the week, set that every Thursday we're going to be doing coding quests during this hour of time. This also allows the students know when it's coming. And also they're not going to be asking each day, are we going to be in coding quests? Are we going to be doing coding quests? Because they're going to get really engaged and really excited about the program and what they're accomplishing. So that just sets out a little bit of organization for them as well. Also as well, if there's something they want to figure out, it gives them time at home to have a look at some things and then come back to code again. So that is just some strategies that I learned throughout the program that really helped in the organization of the program. Now that I've talked about the program itself, how do you go about registering? So we talked about that you're going to need a Scratch teacher's account, which is great because then you can really monitor students' work. You can set out the usernames as well as gives you access to be able to change their passwords if they happen to forget it, and you're able to actually access everything that they're working on. So from your computer at your desk, you can go into your teacher account and see what they're putting in their code and see what's going on within their games. So how you register is you're going to go to the learningpartnership.ca and you're going to actually register for a Learning Partnership account. Please note this is free. This is all free, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to go into the main website. So this is a free program. It is free for public schools. Now, this is the official first kind of webpage that you go to when you log in. And you're going to see at the top, now I'm currently logged in. So that's why you can see that there's a dashboard. But along the top, you're going to see a spot that says login. Within that, you're going to click, and then it's going to ask you to, if you have an account, if you don't already, you can create an account. You're going to want to create an account and have your own Learning Partnership account. Within the Learning Partnership account, this is where you can now register for programs. So once you've logged in, you're going to have a dashboard similar to mine, but within your My Programs, you're not going to see anything because you haven't registered for your programs yet. So within your dashboard, once you've logged into your Learning Partnership site and your dashboard, you're going to go into Register for Programs. This is where you can actually see all of the programs that the Learning Partnership offers. So, and there is a couple. For anyone who is in middle school as well, I will just say the Investigate, Innovate, Invent, Innovate is a great program as well for you to check out. So Coding Quest, this is the one you're going to click on. More information, and within there, you're going to be able to choose which one that you want to register for. So are you going to register for the grade 1 to 3, or are you going to register for the grade 4 to 8? And within that, that's where you can also choose your language. So if you are a French teacher that wants to do this in French, this is where you can choose as well that this is, you're going to do it in English or you're going to do it in French. There's also some great information on the website just about the program and some frequently asked questions that are asked about the program. Now, before I forget, because I've just moved away from it, but I said I would show you how to turn Scratch into French. So this is the Scratch website. I've just actually learned about this recently. If you go at the bottom where it says English and change this into French, Français, this will change your Scratch to French. Now the games within, if the students have done an English game, the game is going to come up and the dialogue is going to come up in English. However, the coding and such is going to come up in French. So if you are in the creation screen for creating your project, your coding and such is going to come up in the French language. So that's how you can change that into French for anyone who is doing the Coding Quest program in French. So that's just a little a tip in terms of how to turn that into French. So that is Coding Quest. So that is a program that I love using in my classroom, and I really do hope that some of you will give it a try within yours. It's a great free program and a great free resource to just kind of have in your toolkit for something that of a way to incorporate coding and digital literacy within your classroom. This is where I started, and I felt like it was a great kind of first step for myself to start incorporating this into my classroom. We also had done this in my school with middle school as a part of technology, and we also had students who were creating video games and programs using this, and they had gone out and done research and had really created some fantastic projects. I will say as well, my first Coding Quest group were in middle school, the year that they started to do this within our middle school, and they were able to be the leaders within that classroom and help other students with their coding projects. So it really, the students are going to be engaged, and it really helps foster that kind of community in regards to within the project. So this is kind of the opportunity that if anyone has any questions, and I am going to stop the screen share part so that you guys aren't probably seeing a variety of yourselves. But this is the opportunity that if anybody has any questions. Oh, I think we're good so far. Wendy, what do you think?
I think you did such a good job, Lindsay. There's not even any questions. That was fantastic. I'm going to post a link in the chat bar for people. Oh, that's the Learning Partnership one. Just 1 second. I want to post a link for your session. If people I just want to thank everybody for joining the session today. And what we have here, and I'm thinking my link is all messed up, so just 1 second.
No problem.
I'll open it again because I want people to be able to submit the link for prizes at the end. So yes. I'll just bring that up again if I can find it here somewhere.
Definitely submit for prizes.
Yes, you need that.
Exactly.
I copied it and then it copied half of it, so I was like, okay, I'm going to get the right link. So just bear with me for 1 second.
Also, I will say too, if anyone is looking for, if you want to start the program and you're just starting and you want to get some ideas or just want to have another teacher to bounce things off of, by all means, feel free to email me. I'm more than welcome to talk about the program and help you kind of get it organized. By all means, feel free. It's lindsey.fairweather with our email. And feel free to send me an email. I don't mind at all answering questions, or if I can help or kind of help some ideas generating, I'd love to do that.
Perfect, Lindsey. Well, that concludes today's session. On behalf of LearnEast and our participants, I want to say thank you to you, Lindsey, for taking time to share with us today. And just a reminder to everyone to please click on that link that I posted in the chat to be eligible to win one of the door prizes that they have. And they're pretty good ones too, from what I hear. Join us at 3:30 as well, 3:45, sorry, to hear from our MBTA President Rick Cumming and find out if you're the lucky winner. So the link for that closing session is posted on the LearnEast website. And just thank you, Lindsey, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. And I hope you enjoy your last week of summer vacation. And I will stop the recording here.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you again, everyone, for coming and